They say the woods hold secrets. If you listen long enough, if you're still enough, sometimes the woods will speak back. When the sun rose the next morning, my mind snapped back to the night before. I would wonder if it was a dream or just some nightmare. I wanted to tell somebody, but who could I tell? Would they even believe me? Could they even help? Or would it find them? Knock on their door? I remember thinking maybe it already had. Maybe like me, they were just too scared to talk. I'd spend that whole day feeling like a zombie, like I was controlling myself from the outside. Or someone else was. As the sun started to set, my sisters and we gathered on the front porch, waiting for the stars to come out. I was on the steps with my dog, and my two older sisters were perched up on an upper rail. They were looking to the sky. I was looking to those woods. Night would fall, and with it came an eerie silence. There were no bugs or animals calling, and the air was heavy with a unseen fog. This absence of sound, it dragged my thoughts back to the night before. That figure and its pale green aura. I thought I was losing my mind. My sisters would retire for the night, but my dog and we stayed in that silence, listening for anything. My dog suddenly stood. She was tense. Her hackles started to raise, but I didn't see or hear anything. But she did. I remember she looked back at me. Her eyes would grow soft, almost like she was telling me it was time for bed. The night is theirs. Summer was starting to fade to fall, and school would start soon, but all I wanted to do was forget that night, forget that voice. I would learn some things are hard to forget. To my dismay, my pops had found a small pond. It was out past the barbed wire fence, beyond the tree line, and my sisters were dead set on a picnic. One last adventure before summer's end, they told me. Everything inside me wanted to scream no, but I couldn't say anything. My pops had always told me I had to protect my sisters. Even as the youngest, I took this to heart. So we headed to that fence. I hadn't been this close since I first heard the voice. That barbed wire had become a boundary in my mind. I remember how it felt in my hand as I pulled the rows apart so my sisters could pass. It was covered in a heavy rust, and it just crumbled in my hand. Now with my dog in tow, we'd venture into those woods. We followed a small game trail that winded through the trees, and I was terrified. My mind was riddled with anxiety, and those feelings would fade when I heard my eldest sister call out, "There it is." I couldn't believe it, but there it was, a clearing. It was an end to these woods. We'd lay out our picnic by the pond. The air was sweet with honeysuckle, and the sun sparkled off the water. We'd spend most of the day there, but as we started back, my middle sister, she spotted a strange hill in the distance. They were curious and insisted we check it out. I would follow, but my dog wouldn't. Strange, she stayed by the trail. That hill, this mound, it seemed so much larger as we got close. It stood out. This clearing, it was all covered in grass and wildflowers, but this hill, it was just dirt. We started up the hill, and the dirt felt strange under my boots. It was soft and crunchy. It was just loose dirt and small pebbles. Then we started to notice animal bones. It was just a few at first, but the higher we climbed, the more we saw. They weren't scattered, they were whole carcasses, picked dry and sun-bleached. My eldest sister would turn to us and she'd say calmly, "It's time to go." The walk back was quiet and unsettling. At a certain point, I would hear him whispering behind me, almost debating whether it was disease or a predator. In my mind, I'd disagree. Those animals were drawn there by someone or something. But whatever it was, it surely wasn't natural. That night I sat alone on the porch watching the woods. Now, it wasn't unheard of for my dog to be absent. It was just uncommon. The night was quiet, like it was holding its breath. As I listened closer, I started to hear a faint rhythmic drumming. It's hard to explain, but it was distant, not in space, but in time, like an echo from a world that had moved on. Now, everyone around here knows the history. Native tribes called this land home long before us, and I'd wonder if it could be them from ages past. Either way, this was unsettling, and it made my worry grow. I'd sat there listening to those eerie drums, telling myself, she'll come back. She always comes back. That night I stared out my window. I can still see the back porch light holding off the darkness, showing her the way home. But she didn't come back that night, or any other night. And I know, as I waited,